Hey everybody, welcome back to the Alabama Bee Girlz and Dad. I'm back here in our shop right now. I'm trying to stay out of the wind because it's cold. It's January the 16th and we're going to take and look at what we need to do to our garden. So let's get started. Where are you going? You driving somewhere?
Yeah, because I'm going to the beach.
You're driving to the beach on the tractor?
Yeah, because you can visit it too.
Okay. Hey everybody,
Welcome.
welcome back to the Alabama Bee Girlz and Dad. First of all, I want to say thank you for stopping by our channel. We're a small channel, we're trying to grow. So every time that you come visit us, that helps us that much more. If you want to help us even more, we'd love to have you as a subscriber and give us a thumbs up. But whether you're here for the first time or returning back, thanks. You know, there's a lot of things that we can learn from the big row crop operations that we have around here in Alabama. Some of those things that they do on a large scale, us small farmers or homesteads can't do because it's just too cost prohibitive. However, there is one thing that we can do that we're going to talk about today that's not that expensive, and the benefits to us small guys is just as big as it is to the $1 million row croppers that we have around here. So, without further ado, we're going to talk about a soil test. So how do you know what's in your garden area? To get the best crops, to know what each individual thing needs to grow, well, we have to start off with that soil test. This allows us to find out what's currently in our garden or our property, whether we're doing vegetables or fruit trees, but it tells us what's in our soil currently. But instead of getting into all of what's on the soil test, we're going to focus in on one thing today. And that one thing affects more things than you can really realize in your soil. And that is the pH of your soil. First, let's talk about how to gather your soil sample. What I do when I try to do a test is I get a clean 3/4 inch piece of PVC. And then I get something like a stick or something to be able to poke that back out of the 3/4 inch PVC. And then we also want to get a good clean bucket that we can put our soil sample in. Now it ain't got to be perfectly clean, but rinse it out good and make sure it's dry. Now, what you want to do to start is you want to take that 3/4 inch PVC and go around, and from what I've read, most of your labs want at least 10 sub-samples taken. You're going to do this by taking that PVC and pushing it down into the ground at least 6 to 8 inches. You want that depth in order to get a correct soil test. You're going to take that out and you're going to take your stick or whatever you need, whatever you have, and poke that out into your bucket. Now, they make an actual probe for this, but you know, that's one of those things of it's not cheap. So I'm going to stick with my PVC and a stick or a piece of conduit or something that'll slide down inside of it. So now that you're going to do this in about 10 places in your garden area, and that will give you a good sample. Now you can see by the pattern, you're not going to just take and go in a line. You need to take random samples, but you need to know where you've taken them and where you're going with it. Now once you have your samples in your bucket, you want to take and break them up good and mix them all together. This will give you a complete sample for your entire garden. Once you've done that, you want to take that and you want to take about 2 cups and put into a bag, and you'll be sending that off to the soil testing lab. Now, as you can tell, I'm a bit of an Auburn fan, but I've used Auburn's test, which runs about $7 per sample at the time of this video, and then I've also used Midwest Labs for testing, which I used their garden soil testing package with the recommendations, which runs about $15 at the time of this video. Now, even though I'm an Auburn fan, I liked the Midwest report a lot better, and it gives me I'm a numbers person, so it gave me a lot of the stuff that I was looking for. I wanted to know those different minerals that were in my soil. As you can see here, the Midwest test gives you the organic matter, nitrate, phosphorus, potassium, pH level, magnesium, calcium, sodium soluble salts, CaCO3 or calcium carbonate, the buffer index, and another item that we'll talk about in another video, your cation exchange capacity. But today we're only going to talk about one thing on that soil test, and that one thing plays a big part in a lot of things in your garden, but it's the one thing that we need to get correct first. Today we're going to talk about your soil pH level and what we need to do to our garden in order to correct that. Now, we're going to have to step back a little bit to your high school chemistry class and figure out, okay, what was the pH? What is it? Well, it's the acidity. It's how acid or base a substance is. In our case, we're looking at our soil. Now, a pH of 7.0 is considered a neutral pH. The higher the number, the more base you have. The lower the number, the more acidic your soil is. Now, most crops, including your garden stuff, are going to be wanting about a 6.8 on your pH level. That's about ideal for them. It's just under the neutral. You can go a half a point either towards the acid level or the base level without having too much problem. But once you're past that 6.3 or 7.3, then we have to start looking at doing something to correct that pH of our soil. As you can see on our report, our pH here in our garden is at a 6.1. This means our soil is on the acidic side and we need to add more base. Now, we have a wonderful soil amendment that we can use in our case to take that 6.1 and raise it up closer to that 7 or 6.8, and that substance is lime. Now, lime is not going to make it happen overnight. It's going to be a couple of years process, so don't get discouraged if you don't see immediate results. So what we're about to do is put down some pelletized lime. Now, you can pick up lime at a lot of different places. Your local big box store, most nurseries will have it. And in my case, we went to the local co-op to get it. If we go look at the recommendations that came from Midwest on our soil report, you'll see they suggest 41 pounds of lime per 1,000 square feet. A little simple math. Our garden is 70 feet by 40 feet. That equals up to around 2,800 square feet. If we take that and divide it by that 1,000 square foot that Midwest has broken it out to, that's 2.8. So we take that 41 pounds times the 2.8, and that gives us 114.8 total pounds of lime needed to apply to our garden. So when I went to the co-op, I got 3 40-pound bags of lime. Today, my plan is to put down 80 pounds of that lime. I'm going to save the other 40 for when we get closer to spring and I put down or get ready to put in my spring garden. If my soil had been the other way, well, this is a little bit tougher to deal with. You see, there's only one good soil amendment that you could put in that would change your pH, and it'll change it fairly quickly, but it's not cheap. In fact, for row croppers, it's not even an option because it's so expensive it would put them out of business. But that element is elemental sulfur. So instead of adding elemental sulfur to their fields, most of your row croppers will put in what's called drainage tile. It's usually a 4 or 6 inch pipe, and it'll take and run across the field underground and out into a ditch somewhere to try to move the water away from their fields. And what this does is this actually takes and allows the salts that have been dissolved to be removed from the field, which then ends up lowering your pH. But for us small guys, that's probably a lot to do. You're talking about renting equipment, you're talking about trying to get it in the ground. So unless you're just planning on this is always going to be my garden spot, it's probably not economically feasible for us small time farmers or homesteaders. So in our instance, I would probably look at possibly putting down some elemental sulfur in measured amounts to get the soil pH down to where we needed it. I wouldn't look at it as a long-term thing to try to do every year. So now that you know why we're putting down lime in our garden and how much we're putting, let's go get to work. thanks for sticking around and watching our video and listening to us talk about our soil test and trying to fix our pH issues. Now, I hope to put another video out soon talking about our fertilizer and how we're going to apply it, how we're going to measure it out, and the rest of the soil test as well. I want to make it easy to understand because we can learn a lot from the big row croppers and what techniques they use, and we can use those here in our garden as well. But I want everybody that tunes in to be a successful gardener as well. So give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, thanks for watching the Alabama Bee Girlz and Dad. Y'all have a good day. Hey Buster, you think everybody enjoyed that video? Well, maybe if they did, they'll go check out some of our other videos. In fact, there's one video where I went out and filmed with my drone a local farmer that I know and his peanut harvest here in Alabama. So if y'all enjoyed our video, make sure you go check that one out. Make sure you check out some of our other videos on our homestead / farm here. So until next time, y'all be safe.